Hi everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here with the Arteza Acrylic Markers. We're actually going to create a art journal with these, but I wanted to just show them to you. Arteza, of course, had forwarded these to me and asked if I would give them a review and to provide my thoughts when it comes to the product. So this is how they're packaged. I just wanted to show some of the pretty colors in here. The package is plastic, and there are 40 markers in here. Of course, with the 40, they're acrylic, they're quick drying. There is no odor that I am smelling when it comes to these. These are water-based. However, once they're dry, they are permanent. You do have in this box, what comes into it is replaceable tips. Now, you can either have a chisel or you could put that tip on there, the rounded nib. So I actually, when I got these, I had this tip on them. On all of the markers. I actually wanted to put, and I'm digging in here to see if there is one in here. And of course there's not. And you also get these tweezers, these plastic tweezers, which work really well. And then I just put them in my own Ziploc bag. Excuse me. So I changed all mine to the chisel tip. And the reason being is right there. You get that fine point. Now, these will wear down after a little bit. I wish they were a brush nib, but I can get the same thing from the chisel. You will be able to see that I can get, with the chisel, I can get different thicknesses. So if I take the long end or the flatter end of the chisel, and then when I come across the top, I can get that. And then if I lay that on the side, I could get an even thinner line when it comes to these. So I do think that the chisel is more versatile when it comes to the tip. Again, you do not have to change yours. I think the colors are absolutely gorgeous, and as always, Arteza gives you, and I say a rough estimate. No, I shouldn't even say rough. I will say an estimate of what the color will look like, but always map them out. Make your swatches when it comes to all of your products, because then you'll know the true color. And then when you create your swatches, make sure you're putting them on the paper that you would use them on. These I will not swatch, only because I can use these on a lot of different mediums. I can use them on watercolor paper, Bristol paper, mixed media paper, in my journals, and there's all kinds of paper in some of those. So I tend to not swatch out alcohol or acrylic markers. Now, in this set, they have fluorescents. So there's a fluorescent yellow, orange, pink, and peach, and green, and blue. There's also some metallics, silver, gold, and bronze. So there is a nice choice selection when it comes to this set. So what I'm actually going to do is just create an image, so to speak. Okay, so I'm just going to move these things out of my way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my table set up, and then I'm going to switch over to a voiceover because I'm sure I'll have to speed this up. So I'm going to show you, we're going to start with our backgrounds. And again, it's going to be an art journal. And yes, these are the colors that I will be using. So I will make sure that I slide these out of the way so I don't lose the color scheme or the color row. that I want to have. All right, so I will be right back, and we're going to start with the background. Okay, so let's get started on the art journal. Now, I'm going to warn you now, if there's ever a project where we don't give up, this is it. So let's get going. So we are going to use tumbled glass, faded jeans, and chipped sapphire for the background. So I started out with the tumbled glass, I came in with the faded jeans, and then I came in a little bit with the chipped sapphire. Once I had those sprayed, I came in with water. Now, a lot more of, I tried to come back in with the tumbled glass because this was getting dark. She was getting dark, and this was okay. So I added in some water splatters then, just to give a little bit of texture back there, because I also didn't add a lot of water to that piece. So there's a lot of speckles, again, to give it that texture. I'm then going to pull in my broken china and my tumbled glass just to create on a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card a cloud, sky. So just by going every so often with your colors, you're automatically going to create those clouds. At least that's what I think. So now I'm going to come in with the broken china just to get it darker. Just to have it more vibrant. And I am using one of my makeup brushes to blend these colors in. I'm going to come back in with the tumbled glass just to smooth it out just a little bit. So I'm going to come in with a pencil and I'm going to draw a rainbow. And you can see those are the colors again that we've chosen. So this is really the first time that I'm using these, the Arteza acrylic markers. And what I like about these is they blend, or you can blend with them. So I have all of these different lines, and what I'm going to do is you want to make sure that you shake them first, and then I had switched them over to the chisel nib. They all come with the rounded nib. So I'm then going, after I change them, they have great coverage. There is a lot of ink that comes out once you prime them. Now remember, these are water-based. They dry permanently once they're dry, just as all acrylics. But you can see they are going to pick up the oxide that's underneath there, which is fine. Just remember to clean off the nibs. But you can see these go beautifully next to each other. And when I say that they blend, I'll actually be showing that at the end of this video. So I did keep a lot of this in here. And again, guys, there are some waffle, just errors, just differences. Shouldn't have done this, did this. Wasn't quite sure where I was going, but again, stick with it. And you never know what you're going to get. So I have this beautiful rainbow sitting on there. Be a great card. I should have just done that. So now I'm coming in with the chipped sapphire, and I always need to remember the chipped sapphire, it's got a purple tint to it. And I keep forgetting that, but that's okay. But I darkened these edges, forgetting that my background is already dark. You know, we can have dark art journals by all means, but I didn't realize that I was getting this dark to shades. So I pulled out my puzzle die by Pink and Main, and I set this card within that because I wanted it to be a puzzle. So I pulled out first, I set that aside because I'm like, okay, I die cut it and I couldn't figure out how to get it out of the die. Yes, I know how to get it out of the die, but I didn't want the pieces to be all separate. I didn't want to put the puzzle back together. So I set that aside. Pulled out one of my Tim Holtz stencils and used the chipped sapphire along with the tumbled glass to give some more texture in the background. This is a script stamp that just sits right next to me, and I use the Cobalt Archival ink just to stamp more in the background because, again, I needed to make it darker. I wasn't quite sure how dark I was going to get this background. But don't get me wrong, I love this background. I think this background came out really cool. It would have been great for a winter scene. But I kept going with it. I went around the edges with the chipped sapphire. Now I'm going to come around the edges with some black soot just along those edges. I mean, hardly even bringing it in, just to frame this because, again, I couldn't get it that dark. I couldn't get it dark enough. I was having a ball, but I'm not quite sure what happened here. It was in my mind. It just did not translate. So I grabbed my Dr. I think it's P.H. Martin's. I'm turning around looking at it. Yes. And this is the bleed proof white. So I use this to do my splatters when I really want them to stand out, because figuring this would lighten this up. Now, even though oxides will react, like when you use gesso to do that, the gesso kind of goes into that color. These actually stay very white. So I figured, okay, this would lighten it up. It looks like there's a snowstorm going on there, but I'm still loving this. I pulled out some of my foam cling letters by Stampers Anonymous, and I'm going to stamp the word happy across this. So I'm going to use my archival, and that's what I keep stretching for here. And once I have that stamped down, then I'm going to put the P in there, because of course I only have one P, but that's okay. So I'm going to get this stamped down. Now, here's where the mistake starts. Well, the mistake started way earlier, but right here, I should not have stamped my sentiment or my quote yet. I should have waited until I had that puzzle piece out and onto whatever I was going to put it on. So I'm grabbing something here so in case I'm going away. So the letters weren't dark enough for me, so I came in with the black acrylic marker. And it great, solid coverage, went right over it, no issues. But again, you can see where that is. So I grabbed my Snarky Sentiments by Stampers Anonymous. And so the quote is going to say, why limit happy to an hour? I think that's fitting. So I cut it in half. And I'm going to back them onto black cardstock. So I stuck them down and then I trimmed around them. And then I'm just going to continue to trim them. And then I'm going to set them above. Now, in the beginning, it'll be set off to the side. So everybody do not cringe with what happens here, okay? We're good. We're totally okay. Forgetting the size of this puzzle, because I wanted it to come off of the bottom right-hand corner. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding foam squares to some of the puzzle pieces because I wanted the dimension to happen. Okay, don't cringe. We're good. We're okay. So some of the pieces popped out. Yeah, this took forever to film. So I'm thinking, okay, I could just set it down onto the art journal, realizing I don't know where my sentiment is. So I figured, okay, I'm going to put that back there. It changes, guys. It really changes. So I grabbed another piece of cardstock and slapped it on there. So now I can take this out and just get it adhered onto that cardstock. This was a fun project, guys. I was enjoying every minute of it. You're all probably like, okay, yeah, I'm done. I would have given up a long time. No, we don't stop. So now those puzzle pieces that don't have foam squares, now I'm pushing down onto the cardstock. So you can see this great dimension that I'm getting from this piece. Now, with that piece sitting right there, I'm covering up that sentiment. Now, I grabbed this other background that I was working on. I have no idea where that went or where that was going either. So I figured, all right, I'm going to take this. I'm going to set this right up. I'm going to create a frame for this. Figured it's going to lighten it up. It's still too dark for me. So I figured, okay, let's go to the next step. We're going to grab another bright green and again, frame it again. Again, as you keep on pulling, my thought process was, as I kept on pulling light colors, I even went to pink. So dark green, light green, pink. I really should have kept those frames on there. I know, everyone's really cringing now. So now I'm cutting into this panel so that I could move it down, and I'm going to set those pieces that came out and just fill in. Yes, I actually did not lose those pieces, just to fill in that bottom portion of what I cut the rainbow out of, and then filling in with the acrylic marker. Then I thought, oh, I could turn it upside down. Not a problem. Changed my mind totally. Now I'm cutting off all of those frames that I had on this piece. Guys, I want to show you that the struggle can be real. Anything can happen to anyone. It's just going to happen. So now now I have the rainbow, and that's not a problem. Now I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I cover up that I created with the sentiment? Again, if this all was shifted up higher, I don't know what made me stamp my quote first. I should never do that, but I did. But we're going to keep on working on it. So, figured I've now cut the rainbow out. So all of that background work, that's okay, it's still there. I grabbed some silk flowers from my stash, and I have that harsh edge. That edge was really making me crazy. So I figured, all right, I'll grab in these flowers, and I'll put the flowers going down that. Again, not bright. They are very muted colors. I use these for my vintage journals. My vintage style journals. So they're not bright. But again, we keep going. So I have accomplished to cover up the sentiment that I ripped up, just to get rid of one of those flat edges for me. Now I'm going to trim this down to make it even. And now I'm just going to come in finally. I'm coming to the end, guys. I'm going to come in with the white marker, the white acrylic, and I'm using the side of the chisel to provide my highlights onto my words and into the rainbow, just so that hopefully that would come out as well. I'm going to come in with one of my Arteza fine liners and just add some black lines, just so that rainbow could be a little bit more defined. Now on the acrylic, I did find to use my Faber-Castell Pitt pen. That's India ink, and that was able to come up over a little bit better than the fine liner, so that they would be clear. So here's where I'm showing, to create the rainbow, they do blend. So as long as you go back and forth on each other, they do blend. You just got to make sure that you clean out the tips as you're crossing over with the colors. And that's what I'm doing in that upper left-hand corner. But you can see these blend beautifully. As soon as you put them down, the two colors, you can even take your finger, and you'll see that I do that between the dark blue and the purple. just take your finger and you get this beautiful blend that goes through and carries through that rainbow. So these are great. They're very pigmented. They're fun to work with. They're very easy to use. They're very easy to get started. And these come in a set of 40. So you get 40 colors. These are very large. They seems like they would last you a while. So if you were looking for acrylic markers and a lot of color choices, this might be something that you want to look at. If you are interested in these, there will be a coupon down below available for you for 10% off, so make sure you check that out. All the products that I used will be down below in the video description, and please, if you have any questions or comments, please leave those down below. Again, the struggles are real. I do hope, though, that you did enjoy this and know that absolutely we can all go, when we think we're going right, we suddenly go left. But again, make sure that you enjoy your day. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe. You definitely see a lot of that. But please, continue to stay safe and healthy. And along with staying safe and healthy, please make sure you're always being creative. Till next time, guys. Take care.